day. Highs of around 28 or 29 Celsius in the southeast and low 20s further north. Bye-bye.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You really could become the next giveaway winner with your chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Listen to what some of our previous winners have to say about winning big with us.
Hi, my name's Victoria. I won the Spring Great British giveaway. So the day we got the money in our bank account, everything just felt just a lot nicer. We went out for dinner, just enter. And you never expect to win, but I did.
Get your entry in now. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Apparently, almost 70% of 18 to 25-year-olds, we don't know whether that's men or women, but they say that women shouldn't breastfeed in public. 19% would even go as far as labelling it disgusting.
Well, only a quarter of Brits say that women shouldn't have to cover up when they're breastfeeding. So clearly there is a big debate here and one to get to the bottom of. And to do so, we're joined by parenting journalist Annette Kellu. Really good to see you this morning, Annette.
Really good to see you.
Why is this stigma still existing in our society?
I think we've got a case here going on of double standards. I don't know about you, but I live near a park, OK? One little hint of sun, the men get completely naked. Honestly, you've never seen anything like it. The bodies are out, all different shapes and sizes. So why is it not OK for a woman to feed her baby? You know, we've got this whole thing. They're OK to be naked doing what they want. Why can't a woman just feed her baby? Why is it shameful in 2024? And it's interesting what you say about the 18 to 25-year-olds, because I really want to know, are they men or women? Because I feel like they'd be men.
I was going to say, have you got a hunch? Have you got a suspicion?
Yes, I have. And I think as well, they're thinking of them as sexy time, you know? And I feel like they're not... Well, maybe that's because they're bombarded with images and they see things like that, that they're seeing it in that context. But it's really not. It's feeding the baby. It's simple. Shouldn't be shameful.
But do you think for men it's like they can't see the difference? There's so much porn in society, isn't there, that the breasts are sexualised and seen as this sexual object and not actually for their main primary purpose, which is actually feeding a child.
Immediate association.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they can't.
And you can't see that they could have two functions.
Absolutely. And to them as well, I feel like they see it, and on the other side of it, they think like, ooh, mummy, and that brings up weird feelings for them, maybe.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning, I'm Ellie Costello, alongside Ben Leo, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Good morning to you, hope you're doing well. Great to have your company this morning, and we have an action-packed show in store for you. All of the day's top stories with author and broadcaster Jenny Trent-Hughes and former Apprentice star Trey Lowe.
The race continues for the White House. Who will be the 45th President of the United States of America? Well, journalist and author Nelson Aspen will update us on the latest from the Trump-Harris battle.
And we'll be speaking to Welsh sprinting hero and silver Olympic medalist Jamie Balch for his thoughts on Team GB's efforts at Paris 24. Intentionally trying to match with me today? No,
I think this is a good sign that we're coordinating.
Synchronicity?
Yeah, we didn't even need to talk about it, did we? We just showed up and went, oh, perfect match. Nice. Lovely, very good.
A good omen, a start to a good show, you'd think. I'm not sure if you've seen it at home, this scathing column from former Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Sir Keir Starmer. If you haven't read it, basically it says... Britain's... scroll up a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Come on the ball.
Sorry.
Get a coffee. It says, time to pack the Factor 50 gear, check out of Britain and reflect on the frenzy of utter stupidity Labour's embarked on. Stop all this nonsense and go on holiday, Prime Minister. Go now and don't come back till you've bucked up your ideas.
Yeah, pretty scathing. I will say, it's a good writer. It's a good read. If you're going to read anything today, it would be that piece from Boris Johnson in the Daily Mail. We're going to be talking about that in just a moment. Do let us know what you think about that and any of the stories that we're talking about today. gbnews.com/yoursay.
But before we do anything else, Tatiana Sanchez has your news headlines.
Ben, Ellie, thank you very much and good morning. The top stories. King Charles has called for mutual respect and unity following riots across the country, speaking out for the first time since the unrest began. He thanked the police and the emergency services for their efforts to restore peace and welcomed how communities have countered the violence. This comes after the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, said the police should remain on high alert going into this weekend despite the violence easing. Police forces across the UK are on standby over the weekend, with Cabinet Office Minister Nick Thomas-Symonds saying the government is in a state of high readiness for the prospect of further disorder. Thousands of officers will be on duty as the Met continues to support and reassure communities. Teams are also visiting faith and community venues in their local areas today to listen to the concerns of residents and provide reassurance. Around 741 people have now been arrested over the rioting. That's according to the National Police Chiefs Council, of which over 300 have been charged. Merseyside Police says 2 more people have been charged following violent disorder in Southport and Liverpool, bringing the total number of people charged there to 24. A senior police service of Northern Ireland officers says there will be a significant visible policing operation in place today ahead of a planned anti-immigration protest and counter-protest in Belfast. Assistant Chief Constable Melanie Jones says the police are expecting a very busy weekend for policing across Northern Ireland, with a risk of spontaneous protest. Around 1,000 people gathered in Belfast for a counter-protest against several hundred anti-immigration demonstrators last night. Police responded to several race-related hate crime incidents and other disorder on Thursday night in what the police said was the 5th night of disorder that officers have had to deal with. In other news, dozens of people have been killed in a strike that targeted a school-turned-shelter in Gaza City. That's according to Palestinian health officials. According to Gaza's Civil Defense Agency, more than 100 people have been killed, with dozens more injured. Israel's military said it struck the location yesterday, describing its target as a Hamas command centre embedded in the school. An investigation has now been launched after a plane crashed in the state of Sao Paulo in Brazil, killing all 61 people on board. The black box was found late last night. There were 57 passengers and 4 crew on board. And if you're watching us on television, you can see this drastic footage of the plane spiralling through the trees and ending in a plume of smoke. The plane came down, cutting through those trees and ending the lives of 61 people on board. Now, former President Donald Trump arrived to address the Republican masses at a rally in Montana this morning. The Republican nominee arrived at Bozeman, Montana, after his plane was reportedly diverted to a different airport due to a mechanical issue. This comes after Trump yesterday spent nearly an hour at Mar-a-Lago addressing a select group of reporters, claiming that America was in the most dangerous position it's ever been, and called Harris a radical left person.
Kamala is grossly incompetent and, in my opinion, has a very low IQ. But we'll find out about her IQ during the debate, OK? Let's find out about her IQ.
In sport, the Algerian boxer at the centre of a gender row at the Paris Games has been crowned Olympic champion. Iman Khalif comfortably beat China's Yang Lu by unanimous decision to win gold in the women's welterweight final. Khalif won each of the 3 rounds on the judges' scorecards. Khalif had been under intense scrutiny after a previous opponent quit after just 46 seconds, saying it was to protect her health as the Algerian's punches were so strong. And also it's a bronze medal finish for the GB men's team in the 400-metre relay at the Olympics. The quartet of Great Britain's Zarnell Hughes, Nathaniel Mitchell-Blake, Louis Hinchcliffe and Jeremiah Azu finishing strong at the final in Paris in the 4x100. And that is, of course, after the women's team won silver in the very same race. And those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Tatiana Sanchez. More from me in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us this morning. You've made it. It's the weekend, finally. It feels like
it's the weekend for you.
A very long week.
At work.
Not for us. Yeah. Feels like it's been a very long week. But breaking... What are you laughing at?
It does feel like that. Yes, but we are at the weekend.
Yeah.
But we also have this incredible piece, don't we, from Boris Johnson from the Daily Mail.
Scathing overnight. I'm not sure where Boris has been hiding in recent days, but he's written this Daily Mail column about the current Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, who says he fails to understand the root causes of unrest across the UK. He called him, again, the human bollard, and said that he needs to go on holiday to have a think about what he's doing with the government, with the country, and have a good think whilst he gets away from the chaos.
Yeah, suggests that he sips on a Kir Royale, which I thought was quite a good line. Well, joining us now to discuss all of this is GB News political correspondent Olivia Utley. Good to see you this morning. Olivia, pretty scathing from Boris Johnson, not mincing his words, but what do we expect?
Well, a very punchy piece in classic Boris Johnson style. As you say, then, where has Boris Johnson been over the last few weeks? But he does seem to be back with a bang. He accuses the human bollard, as he calls Keir Starmer, of allowing the Labour government to let this all get totally out of control. He talks at first about specific Labour policy failures, including the decision to close down all sorts of prisons and to let prisoners out early. Now, this is going to be a problem for Keir Starmer looking forwards. For now, his response to the riots has essentially been lock up as many of these people as possible, get the courts working in overtime to get it all sorted out quickly. Well, that's all very well, but we have an overcrowding problem in our prisons, as he said himself only weeks ago. So what's going to happen when these prisons get full? There are only 1,400 places or something ridiculous in English prisons. A lot of those are going to be filled by those rioters if we keep going at the pace that we're going at. And then who's going to have to be let out of prisons? That's going to be a really big question for Keir Starmer. Boris Johnson also talks, and he's one of the few politicians in public life to really address this, about the cause of the riots in the first place, which, of course, is the immigration crisis. Now, Boris Johnson says that he has, no sympathy with the rioters themselves, anyone who is resorting to violence, but he points out that 34% of the British public actually agrees with the political points that the rioters are making. And he says, if Keir Starmer's just planning to throw all of these people in prison and calling them all far-right lunatics, well, does he believe that over a third of the British population are far-right lunatics? And when will an actual conversation about immigration be had? There is a conversation beginning to happen in political circles, but at the moment it just seems to be very toxic. We heard from Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, yesterday. He says that he feels unsafe now in London as a Muslim, and he was actually pointing the finger at former Conservative ministers, Suella Braverman and Lee Anderson, for stoking the rhetoric on this and kind of almost accusing them, didn't quite go this far, but almost accusing them of inciting these riots by just talking about immigration at all. How is Keir Starmer going to deal with this issue? Because he has a sort of uncomfortable coalition of voters at the moment. He's got plenty of left-wing voters who believe, like Sadiq Khan, that even talking about potentially cracking down on immigration is far-right rhetoric. And then he has plenty of voters who are actually true blue Conservative voters who were disillusioned with the party at the last election and decided to give Labour a chance. What sort of immigration policy will Keir Starmer have to come up with to unite those two halves?
Yeah, it was a great line, the one you mentioned about a third or 30-odd million Brits being far right. I mean, it was very well put. And just on Sadiq Khan as well, people who were saying yesterday, oh, you feel unsafe. Sorry to hear that, of course, genuinely, but maybe you know now how Jews have felt in London for the past 10 months.
That's what a lot of our comments yesterday were saying on gbnews.com/you'll say. Olivia, good to have you. We're going to speak to you in the next hour as well. Well, the police remain on high alert this weekend, concerned about more unrest. Let's speak now to our national reporter, Charlie Peters, to give us the latest outside Scotland Yard. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, Ellie. Yes, there are significant concerns that there could be upcoming disorder this weekend, in part because there are several planned protests across the country set to take place today. They've been put on by Stand Up to Racism. They're taking place as far as Edinburgh, but also we have demonstrations set to occur in Birmingham, Manchester, and also here in London, where a demonstration is planned for the early afternoon outside Reform UK's headquarters, with Nigel Farage front and centre of a poster that the so-called anti-fascist organisation has put out online. And it comes as the National Police Chiefs Council chair said that while we've perhaps seen a turning point in the violent disorder that's plagued the country over the last 2 weeks, they're not being complacent. Thousands of specialist officers remain on standby to be deployed nationwide should disorder occur anywhere. We've also already seen so much so-called mutual aid, which is when police forces support one another in those incidents when violent disorder erupts very suddenly. Some forces in the south were deployed to the northwest and the northeast on Wednesday evening ahead of those rumoured right-wing demonstrations outside immigration facilities. That never really occurred, but we did still have significant so-called counter-demonstrators come out onto the streets. Now, the day after that, Sir Mark Rowley, the head of the Met, said that this was a show of unity from our communities, praising those demonstrations. But Nick Thomas-Symonds, a Cabinet Office Minister, said yesterday that he didn't want to encourage anybody to protest. It's hard enough when the police are dealing with one side very vociferously putting forward their views and potentially being whipped up into violence. A lot of police forces are extremely beleaguered by some of what they've experienced recently. There have been over 700 arrests, 300 charges. Most of them are for violent disorder, but the second most common charge after that appears to be assaulting an emergency worker. Some police officers scarred by what they've seen, traumatised by the violence they've endured. But more demonstrations set to take place today, and the legal system also working on overdrive. Another 100 prosecutors on standby to step in should they be needed.
OK, Charlie Peters down at Scotland Yard. Stay safe. We'll come back to you later during the show and indeed the day. We're joined now by author and broadcaster Jenny Trent-Hughes and former Apprentice star Trey Lowe to go through all of the day's top stories. How are you both? Welcome. Should we start with the King, Charles? He's called for unity amid the chaos ripping Britain apart over the past week or so. He's called for mutual respect and understanding, hoping that the community unites to rediscover the spirit of Britain. What do you make of that, Jenny?
I really like King Charles. I have since I was a little girl. I think he's really wonderful. And I like the fact that he says things that normally we wouldn't have heard before. And so you do get a sense of who he is, what he's like, what he's about. And I think that this is a really good thing for him to be getting involved in on a certain distant level and saying what he's saying. Because I, for one, I've lived here 32 years. I was shocked at people actually going out in the streets saying, this is not me. The rabble going out there and creating a disturbance, that I expected. But people coming out and saying, sorry, no, not in my name, I thought was wonderful. And I think it's wonderful that he's acknowledging that.
Trey, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's great, and especially if you think we've got the Olympic Games on, we've got all of these people representing Great Britain. So you've got this sort of juxtaposition between that, which is this multicultural, you know, people going out there winning medals, and you've got other people rioting and complaining about it. And for the King, who's a unifying force, or should be anyway, to come and do that, I think it says a lot about him. I'm quite like you as well. I've always really liked him as well. I think it's great that he's coming out saying this. For
me, I got the sense that he'd wanted to say something much earlier.
Yeah.
And he was allowing politicians, which is probably the right thing. He's not supposed to be political.
He has to be seen to be impartial, yeah.
Seen to be impartial. Yeah. He allowed politicians, he allowed the authorities to make their statements and to handle the riots as they were in full flow. And now he's come out saying, I saw the best of Britain in people coming together and looking after their communities. And it was a really cohesive message, wasn't it? Bringing together the people, which is what his role is.
Yeah, and he wasn't necessarily even condemning... I mean, obviously, implicitly, you're condemning the writers, but it wasn't like doing that. It was really all about unity, you know. He wasn't singling people out. It was just like, now's the time to come together and really remember that we're all British.
And honouring the
know?
nice people.
But how, so, OK, that's fine, but how do we come together? Because there are still underlying issues here. Just because tens of thousands of stand-up to racism people came out and organised themselves and showed solidarity and support against thuggery, that those issues that underlie the riots are still there. So how do we come together?
It depends on what you think the issues really are.
Well, immigration.
OK, so in my mind, actually, the real issue is that we are angry, that we have become angry as a nation. And anything that you hold up, people go, yeah, I don't like that. And that's part of the problem. So you can always say it's immigration, it's the NHS, it's this, it's COVID, it's that. It's the underlying anger that we need to do something about.
Are people not allowed to be angry?
I believe that we can all be angry, but be angry come with a solution in hand. I don't want to hear your mouth. I don't want to hear you running your mouth about this is wrong, that's wrong.
Well, Trey, the solution from people who have concerns about migration would be, please stop allowing uncontrolled mass migration because we've not got the infrastructure, there's not enough hospitals, schools, housing, so on and so on. So their solution is, please just get a grip of this. But they feel like they're not being listened to.
I think that's one of the issues. Yeah, there's anger, but I think it's also people feeling a bit marginalised and not feeling heard. You know, I think when we're here in London, where a lot of the sort of political power is based, we've got a certain view. But if you're on these old mining towns where jobs have been decimated, they are angry. You know, everyone's feeling the cost of living and the rest of it, and it's quite easy for them to then start direct that anger at, right, it's all because of you and it's your fault that I haven't got a job. So I think it's really having them be heard. I think that's, you know, it's almost like that saying, I may not like what you say, but I'll defend to death your right to say it. And I think we should allow people to share what's going on for them, even though we don't agree with them, because that in itself starts to dissipate that anger. And then suddenly they could start hearing some of the more nuanced voices about what's going on rather than some of the more extreme voices, which is just, it's all about immigration, because we know it's not. You know, we know it's much more than that. The cost of living, all the rest of it, which is what's making people anxious and angry, isn't all about immigration. But there are some real practical considerations. We can't necessarily let in lots of people in because the infrastructure is not there, and that hammer tends to fall hardest on the working classes and the people that mostly can't absorb that. So they should be heard, but I think it's also looking at some of the people that are whipping up the flames, where it's not just about immigration, it's just about pure unadulterated hatred of people because of the colour of their skin, or in these cases often their religion. I think that's the thing that we need to tackle and deal with.
Can we take a look at the Daily Mail, indeed, as in one of the papers this morning, about Huw Edwards being asked by the BBC, or the BBC telling him, actually, the villain, Huw Edwards, to hand back £200,000 worth of his pay. They say that he accepted it in bad faith after he was arrested. What do you make of this?
It's hard. I mean...
Oh, it's got me well tickled. Once again, I actually love the BBC. I've been working for the BBC off and on for 25 years. And whenever the BBC stands up and says, we had no idea, I just laugh.
Well, they say he was leading a double life and they had absolutely no idea.
They might not have had any idea what he got up to in his spare time. But when the nonsense first started, there should have been... I have never fallen afoul of it, but I've had a lot of friends fall afoul of the putting the corporation into disrepute. That's their favourite phrase. And the instant that there was any hint that he was putting the corporation into disrepute, something should have... His salary should have been looked at. So all of a sudden now, to be yelling and complaining, oh, he needs to give the money back, that's terrible, the man's a villain. Oh, come on.
What about innocent till proven guilty, though? Because it was a balance for the BBC, just play devil's advocate, it was a balance for them, because if he was found innocent, then they've taken his salary away for the last 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, no one, first of all, is going to sign a contract to say, if something happens, you can dock my pay, like, retrospectively. That's not going to happen, right? So, you know, that's one thing. And another thing, you do have to wait until he's found guilty, isn't it, mate? I mean, it's going to be purely up to him whether he gives it back or not. But the fact that he's out of a job, he's very unlikely to. I mean, 200 grand's a lot of money.
And I don't think...
Legally, I don't think he...
He doesn't have to.
No,
he doesn't.
And I don't think that they should be calling him names. But actually, you do sign... Every contract that you sign with the BBC, they get into the, if you call the corporation into disrepute.
Well, they call it a morality clause.
Yeah.
And I've said it a few times. Have you seen The Morning Show on Apple TV?
Yes.
So have you guys seen that Morning Show? So it's about a breakfast TV show in America. The main male anchor gets into some sort of sexual mischief and he gets cancelled, basically. And he finds out later on that he's got a morality clause in his contract, which means if you get up to no good and bring us into disrepute, we take everything. You don't get your pension, nothing. But according to, Tim Davie has pretty much alluded to it, Huw Edwards doesn't and didn't have a morality clause, which means he'll still get his $300k a year pension.
Oh, wow.
Even if he gets banged up for 10 years.
Wow.
He must be the only person in the history of the corporation who did not have a morality clause in it. I don't believe it.
Tim Davie said we can't do anything to claw back that pension. So the $200k he was paid between November and, April?
April.
It's kind of nothing really compared to the $300k a year he's going to be getting from license he pays for life.
From his point of view, I mean, his reputation is tattered, isn't it? So what's the point of him even giving it back?
He won't give it back.
Of course you're not. You're not going to rescue your reputation. So what's the point of doing that? Oh, he's not so bad after all. He gave his money back.
He's not so bad. He's not a cheapskate.
Yes.
We'll forget about the other stuff. He's not a cheapskate.
Have we got time for one more story, or do we need to go to the break? One more story, great. Let's talk about Thursday. A-level results are coming out. Now, apparently, this is really interesting. The top A-level grades are set to fall as the soft COVID teacher assessment.
Snowflakes.
It's going to come to an end, so people are going to have to actually just sit their exams and be marked properly. What do you think of it?
I was a teacher for 4 years. And
Jenny, you've done it all.
You have skin.
Her life is so colourful.
It's actually interesting because until Brexit, I taught French business students and journalism students, and I was really tough. And I think that we're not tough enough on kids. We're not tough enough on kids at home. We're not tough enough on kids in school. No more snowflake business.
I absolutely
whip 'em
agree.
into shape. Not whip, not whip.
Well, yeah, no, don't do that.
I mean.
No, don't. I absolutely agree. I'm the son of Nigerian immigrants. And anyone knows anything about Nigerians, your education is literally beaten into you. So I think it should be as stringent as possible. 100% agree with that.
But having said that, to offer some balance, apparently pupils are now ditching the softer subjects and they're going for tougher subjects.
Well, like media studies.
Like maths and physics, yes. So this is from a professor at Buckingham University, has revealed that A-level entries for sociology and psychology, the numbers of students applying to those are down for the first time in 20 years. Sounds interesting. Go back to the traditional subjects.
It's a good thing.
To go.
Yeah.
I did.
What did you do?
English, history, politics and religious studies. What about you?
I was down the mines at 16. I did media studies, and it was a
good stead.
I haven't even got A-levels. It was a BTEC National Diploma in Media Studies, which was television production, film, and publishing journalism, sort of making papers and magazines and things. So it was good. So not quite. They used to call it the equivalent to 3 A-levels, but not so sure.
Sorry.
But you are really proud of that, aren't you? You're proud of your education and doing your...
Do you know what? I'm prouder that I didn't go to university because I look at university students these days and for the most part, I just think they're wasting their time.
Yeah. You think this has prepared you well?
Yeah, 100%.
I think you're right in some ways. If you think about the debt that they incur, and it's almost like what some of them lack potentially is the sort of social skills and the actual experience.
Yep.
You've gone straight into it, and experience sometimes is more valuable than the sort of paper qualifications. But it is a balance, though, because at university you get to meet, well, I did, people from all walks of life, and that's quite a good grounding in terms of dealing with people. But I don't think you need university as much as you do.
I didn't go.
Yeah, you don't need it as much.
Richard Branson didn't go, so we're in good company.
No, the lists are great of all the people who didn't go.
Not just a bunch of dancers, are we?
No, not at all.
Did you say dancers?
Am I?
Not at all. Jenny and Trent, great to see you. We'll see you in the next hour. Let us know what you think of any of the stories that we've just been chatting about. gbnews.com/yoursay.
Thank you both. Right, still to come, we'll be meeting former sprinter, a world champion and Olympic silver medalist, Jamie Bolch. Excited for that.
Yeah, really excited for that. But next, this is going to get you going as well. Are the over-50s about to take off? There's a new recruitment drive from EasyJet, and it suggests that the over-50s might be doing just that. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have announced a tour to Colombia at the invitation of Vice President Francia Marquez. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are expected to highlight the threat posed to children by the internet. Why they have to go to Colombia to do that, I'm not entirely sure. However, this is literally within a week of saying that Harry saying he can't come to London, he doesn't feel it's safe to bring his wife, Meghan, to London because, he fears for her personal safety. And Colombia, to my reckoning, is one of those countries where the government advise you not to even go. In any case, joining me now is royal broadcaster and commentator Rafe Hedder-Mancu to explain what's going on here. Rafe, hello, lovely to see you.
Hello, lovely as always. A bit of comic relief here. Yes, so you're quite right. Literally just days after Prince Harry declared that he couldn't bring his wife to Britain because of the potential risk of an acid attack or knife attack, they've now announced that they're going to go to Colombia, one of the world's 10 most dangerous countries.
Right.
A nation riven with political assassinations, with murder, with kidnappings and gun crime. I mean, the hypocrisy is mind-boggling. And it just comes a few months after they went on another trip to Nigeria, another world leader in murder and political kidnappings. Now, look, no one is saying that they're going to be putting themselves into harm's way. They're going there at the invitation of this radically left-wing government. And, of course, we've had successful royal tours of Colombia in the past. Just last year, Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, went to Colombia. 10 years ago, our current King and Queen also had a successful trip to Colombia. But that's rather the point. If members of the royal family are able to go to the world's most dangerous nations, the idea that they can't come to the UK because it's too dangerous is simply absurd.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, welcome back. It's 10:28. Ben and Ellie with you on Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News. Now, are you over 50 and considering a new career? And do you fancy taking to the skies? Because EasyJet is launching a new recruitment drive focused on attracting cabin crew members over 50 and those even considering retirement.
Well, the initiative is called Returnships and it's inspired by research that suggests that 75% of people over 50 years old believe that now is the ideal time to embark on a new career.
Joining us now to discuss what it takes to embark on a second career as cabin crew is Helen Williams. Good morning, Helen.
Hi, good morning, Helen.
Welcome. Just touching down in our studio.
It is. I've had a few days off and now I'm here.
So you are now cabin crew.
I am.
What inspired you to get into it? What did you do before? How did it all come around?
Oh, so when I graduated, I took an office job with my grad scheme and that job lasted 6 months and I started working for a European carrier. I did just over 5 years at that European carrier and had an absolutely fabulous time. I then went on to a wet lease operation with an Irish carrier and another mainline UK carrier. I then decided to have time out. I had a business, I had a family, I had children. And last autumn I decided, why not? Let's go back and do it all again. So returning to that European carrier that I'd worked at when I was in my early 20s.
And what is that like for you now, returning that bit older, having that life experience, having your children? Do you think that's been a benefit to you?
It's absolutely been a benefit. I mean, the amount of parents that thank me for helping me with their small children when they're crying on a flight. I am that person now. Or if you're dealing with children that are having meltdowns or they have additional needs and being able to support them and understand, whereas in my early 20s I kind of didn't understand kids and what they did. But now, as a little bit older and a little bit wiser, if you can make their journey a lot easier, the parents are ever so thankful.
When you went back for a second time, did you notice more sort of older people amongst your sort of colleagues?
I did. So when I returned onto my initial course in March of this year, just over half the course were over the age of 30.
Wow.
Which was absolutely phenomenal. And I was expecting to return and be with a lot of younger, 18, 19, 24. I was expecting to be that dinosaur. And that first day of training, to find out that I wasn't the dinosaur, you have no idea how exciting that was. And they've gone on, that particular group, to be phenomenal crew members.
And what do you think is bringing people back? Why do you think people are taking to the skies later on in life?
I think people thought that it was a young person's game. I generally think that people thought that, oh, I can't do it, it's for children, it's for kids, it's for, you know, graduating as I've graduated. And what they're then discovering is, if I give you a prime example, I can go and do my food shopping on a Wednesday and not have to scrum in the evenings or weekends for food that you would normally do if I did a 9-to-5 job. And people appreciating the fact that you've got lots of diversity, you've got lots of change, there's lots of things you can do. For example, I've been able to come to you, which is unusual on a Saturday. I quite often work Saturdays. This week I've had 3 days off during the week with my children, whereas had I done, when I had the business, evenings and weekends, that's when I had to do everything.
Right, come on then, Helen. I want some gossip from the skies. 37,000 feet up. Best routes, worst routes, why?
It depends on the passengers. I can do, for argument's sake, a European Spanish route on a weekday, and I won't hear a peep from anybody. And it's absolutely fun, folks. They're just families and children. Right. However, your Friday night Ibiza or a Saturday in Malaga, that's a different kettle of fish.
I'm off to Ibiza in 2 weeks.
Well, you need to watch him then.
Serving me.
No aircraft raves, please.
No. Okay, I'll have to rearrange it.
But do you think that is a benefit? Because I've got a friend who was cabin crew, and she said she had to give it up. She said it's a young person's game. It's so physical. You're on your feet all the time. You're in and out of hotels. She just said, I just couldn't do it any longer. She's only mid-20s.
Oh, no. Right, so it's a laugh. My husband laughs at me that I burn 800 or 900 calories just at work. I do between 15 and 20,000 steps. Don't need to go to the gym. Just troll down the aisle with a trolley.
Cardio.
Close hat bins, you know, pull trolleys out. You get your exercise in at work.
And with the mischievous passengers like Ben Leo in a couple of weeks' time, do you think that being slightly older, it makes you more able to deal with those kind of troublesome passengers?
It is. You are given extensive training to deal with disruptive passengers and passengers that cause you bother, should we say. But there's also that thing of you understand that if you're of a similar age group, not always, you enable them to talk to them better, whereas I have seen some younger crew have not always dealt with it as well as they could have done, and things have flamed and you've ended up with the older crew diffusing it.
I was on a flight the other day, won't name the airline, didn't get asked once if I'd like a drink.
That's rude.
Oh,
Fuming.
no.
Oh, that's rude.
And did you have a word?
Let me say, it wasn't a budget airline either.
Oh, dear.
I think I know who you're talking about. That's bad.
Yeah.
Things have come a long way down.
I was with someone we both know. We were both appalled.
Yeah, I would be. Helen, what would your message be to people who are watching and listening, who are in their 50s, thinking about career change, a bit nervous about it? What would you say?
Do you know what? From somebody who's come back to it, get out there and do it. I'd say to you, what happens if you don't try? You'll always regret it. Go and do it. Go and give those courses a good try. There are plenty of platforms out there. Again, I won't name those websites, but there are plenty of places where you can get training support, you can get books ahead of you doing courses. You speak to a lot of the carriers ahead of your interviews and things, they will support you. And they will also give you running courses for you to learn the aircraft types and all that kind of stuff. It's not a scary world out there. Go and give it a whirl. And if you don't try, you'll always regret it.
Oh, Helen, wonderful. So lovely to meet you. Talk to you all morning.
Aviation's so exciting as well, isn't it? I love planes and airports and the excitement of being in the terminal. So, yeah, it must be great if you're embarking on something new.
It is. I mean, my 6-year-old son will spend hours on flight radar, stalking everything that goes on in the house, watches everything, he likes to know everything. But it's great for him to learn geography and things as well.
Great.
Yeah, and get a bit of travelling as well. Helen, lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, Helen.
Thank you, guys.
Right, still to come, we'll be meeting former sprinter world champion and Olympic silver medalist Jamie Bolch.
I'm so looking forward to that. But next, we're going to be talking about the battle for the White House as it continues. Who is going to end up on top in the presidential debates? The journalist and author Nelson Aspen will be live from the US with his thoughts. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Coming to you from the Met Office, here's your latest GB News weather update. Yes, there is going to be some hotter, sunnier weather to come tomorrow, but for many today, it is a bit cloudy and it is a bit damp first thing. We have quite a bit of cloud across many parts of England and Wales and some rain feeding into western parts initially, some heavy bursts over the higher ground perhaps, and even towards eastern areas where we do have some brightness first thing this morning, it is turning cloudier later. Further north, some sunny spells across Northern Ireland, Northern England and much of Scotland, but plenty of showers here too. Some brisk winds, but temperatures here a touch higher than yesterday. In the south-southeast, we're looking at highs of around 24 or 25 Celsius. As we go through this evening, there's still going to be quite a few showers across many parts of northern Scotland, and here some of them could be on the heavy side. Still a bit of a breeze, so those showers rattling through relatively quickly. Most of the showers for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland and northern England will have cleared, so just a fine end to the day here with some late sunshine. Also some sunshine breaking out across parts of Wales and perhaps western parts of the Midlands too, but across eastern England, southern England and towards the southwest, it's likely to stay pretty cloudy. And there could be some further cloud and murky conditions feeding in, especially across the southwest as we go through overnight into Sunday morning. So a bit of damp, drizzly weather for some. Further north, though, some clearer skies, and under the clearer skies, a bit fresh in places. Away from the towns and cities, temperatures could drop into single figures, milder where we have the cloud towards the south. That cloud in the south then could spill a bit further northwards as we go through Sunday, so across the Midlands, central parts of Wales, could see a bit of cloud for a time, and across southern areas we're likely to see that cloud breaking up as we go through the afternoon. And across northern parts it's actually looking largely sunny through much of the day, and with that it's going to be warmer than today. Highs of around 28 or 29 Celsius in the southeast and low 20s further north. Bye-bye.
I'm Simon Evans, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes, she could have said storm. You made my argument for me. My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
It went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. It's 10:38. Ben and Eddie with you on Saturday Morning Live. Now, across the pond, the battle for the White House continues. A short while ago, former President Donald Trump arrived to address the Republican masses at a rally in Montana.
Yes, he arrived at Bozeman, Montana, after his plane was reportedly diverted to a different airport due to a mechanical issue. But despite that delay, Trump still had time to criticise Kamala Harris once again.
Kamala is grossly incompetent and, in my opinion, has a very low IQ. But we'll find out about her IQ during the debate, OK? Let's find out about her IQ.
Oh, Donald, oh dear. Right, we're delighted to be joined now by journalist and author Nelson Aspin. Good morning, Nelson. It kind of feels like Trump and the MAGA and the Republicans are fumbling the ball in the last quarter. What's going on? Because he was untouchable pretty much shortly after that assassination attempt.
That's right. According to most polls, Kamala Harris has edged out Donald Trump in the popularity contest. But of course, we know how quickly that can change. And we're looking forward to the first presidential debate on September 10th, although Donald Trump says he's agreed to 3 different dates and Kamala Harris has only thus far agreed to September 10th and has sort of put that off. And like, oh, well, we can talk about future dates as well. Donald Trump is accusing Kamala Harris of running away and hiding from the press, along with her running mate, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. And he does have a point. She has not been very forthcoming with information. She's been making a lot of TikTok videos, selling a lot of merchandise, T-shirts and mugs, but we have not heard a lot of substance as to what her plans are if she assumes the top job. And we do want to hear from that. The voting public wants to hear that. It has been vague. She's been distancing herself from responsibility over her previously vice presidential duties, and we've hardly seen anything of President Biden, raising concerns that if he is not fit to run for re-election, is he fit to complete the remaining months of his presidency, guys?
I mean, it's a huge question, isn't But we did see with that Biden-Trump debate, that infamous debate now, that they are still seismic, and they can be seismic, can't they? So what do you think we can expect on the 10th of September? Because looking at that rally last night from Donald Trump, he's going to have to be really careful, isn't he? Because any personal attack, and we know that's his forte when he was talking about Sleepy Joe and the like, any personal attack towards Kamala Harris, he'll be accused of being a misogynist and potentially a racist.
That's correct. But if you recall his debates with Hillary Clinton, it didn't stop Donald from being Donald. And I don't think that will happen again. Donald speaks to his base very clearly and distinctly and with enthusiasm. And Kamala Harris is quite the master of the teleprompter. In a debate situation, she's not going to have that advantage. So you are correct in that a debate can sway public opinion overnight. And that's why everyone is champing at the bit to see what happens between them. And we should also point out that we're looking forward to a vice presidential debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, if that eventuates. They both say that they would look forward to it, and these are very, very different guys. And we're paying more attention now to the vice president role than maybe ever before because of Kamala Harris. She's been our vice president for 3.5 years. Suddenly she's at the top of the ticket. So now we're paying much more attention to the VP slot.
Yeah, Nelson, I can't wait for the debate between Kamala and Donald Trump because that's really where she will have her mettle tested. I spoke with Eric Trump last week and he said that the media has been reforming and reshaping Kamala's whole political identity, making her into some sort of centrist, untouchable goddess, and completely ignoring, by the way, her sort of very extreme left past from San Francisco. Has he got a point, or is he just, echoing his father in that sense?
No, he has the point in the fact that she has not been publicly forthcoming. She has allowed the media to speak on her behalf. They are showing us Kamala Harris, as opposed to Kamala Harris showing us Kamala Harris. As she did say in a 2-minute interview on her way to catch a plane yesterday or the day before, she did say that she is looking forward to sitting down for a press conference sometime before the end of the month. If you look at the calendar, we still have quite a ways to go before the end of the month. So I wish she would do it sooner than later. But hey, it is what it is. She hasn't had a solo news conference since 2023, and we would like to hear from her. We deserve to hear from her.
What do you make of Tim Walz as pick of VP? Because we were almost certain it was going to be Josh Shapiro, weren't we? So what do you make of Tim Walz as pick, and how much of a threat do you think he is to Republicans?
Well, it's baffling, and he's certainly providing raw meat to the left of the Democratic Party. They love him as the governor of Minnesota. So it was obviously a strategic pick on the part of Kamala Harris, and a big surprise that it wasn't Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, who has an enormous popularity rating. And now, because he is Jewish, there are claims of anti-Semitism in the decision not to run with him. You wouldn't know that to listen to him. He's all, cheering for the ticket as it exists now. But it was a big surprise. Everybody sort of had their money on Josh Shapiro. But he has a big future ahead of him. And if Harris ascends to the White House, you can bet that Shapiro will play a role in the administration.
And just very briefly, Nelson, because we're short of time, but Walz has taken some slack from the Republicans for stolen valor, pretty much, saying that there was a clip going around where he said that he carried a gun in war, when in actual fact he was never deployed to armed combat.
And he did serve in the reserves for over 2 decades and got out before he had to go into the war zone in the Iraq War. And he was very vocal about his opposition to that war. So there are the claims of stolen valor. Their side defends that, hey, he was on his way to end his military service before that anyway. So as usual with politics, it's one person's word over the other.
Yeah, got it. All right, Nelson Aspin, it's going to be a fascinating couple of months. I can't wait. Thank you. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you. Oh, he's brilliant, isn't he? We love talking to Nelson Aspin.
He's a good lad.
He's very, very good. And now do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be meeting the former Olympian Jamie Bolch to give his verdict on Team GB's Olympic efforts in the Paris Games. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, to enrich us on the best cheeses and wine to buy, I'm delighted to be joined by the CEO of Inflorescence, Jacinta Madison Wilson. Jacinta, thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
Also, thank you so much for bringing what is
what a Sunday you're having.
of wonderful... What do we have before us?
So, we've got 3 gorgeous wines to try today. We've got an English sparkling, we've got a beautiful rosé and a dessert wine, and, of course, cheese.
Wonderful.
And paired them all beautifully.
Now, English sparkling wine has had a bit of a renaissance.
Oh, it's incredible, isn't it?
To use a French word to describe English sparkling wine. It's having a bit of a moment in the sun.
Absolutely. I just think it's so exciting that this is right on our doorstep, essentially, an hour out of London, and we're around beautiful vineyards.
The chalk sort of sediment is exactly the same as the Champagne region of France.
Yeah, our soils are really similar. We use the same grape varieties a lot of the time. We make it in exactly the same way as Champagne. Our climate is like Champagne was 40 to 50 years ago. So we're really kind of drinking it blind. You almost wouldn't know that you're not drinking champagne. But it's right here on our doorstep. We can stay local now.
Absolutely marvellous. Well, we've got... what is the best order to start?
OK, well, we're going to start with sparkling, because all things in life should start with sparkling. I got married a month ago, and this was actually the... Thank you so much. This was the wine I chose to have as our first wine that we served the guests. This is from a winery called Bluebell, which is in Sussex, and I've chosen to pair this with a lovely... kind of the English version of Camembert, which is called Tunworth. It's a very classic pairing of champagne and brie. So we're kind of going to do the English version of that now. Absolutely. Are you ready to get stuck in?
I am so ready.
OK.
Hang on. Is it cheese first or wine first?
I'd have a little sip of the wine first.
Sip of the wine,
have a little bite of the cheese, and then some more wine. Get it all mixed up in there.
It's like a cheese sandwich.
Exactly.
OK, here
Cheers.
we go. Cheers.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Sunday nights on GB News. From 6, Neil Oliver. At 7, it's Free Speech Nation with Andrew Doyle. At 9, Mark Dolan. And at 11, get set for the week ahead with headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Now, it's been a very busy 2 weeks in Paris, and our GB athletes have been collecting medals all over the show.
We have?
We are 5th in the medal table. Yes, I've just done the maths.
Sorry.
We had a target of 55 medals. We're on 57, so we're exceeding.
Say that again?
We had a target of 55 medals for this Games.
Yeah.
We're on 57, so we're already exceeding targets, and we're not even finished at the Games.
Smash.
And also, we've got more medals than Japan, Australia as well. So technically we could be 3rd, but we don't have as many golds as they do, so that's not how
Not
they work
bad
it
for a
out.
tiny little island,
For a tiny
we?
nation, we're doing very, very well.
There's a really
very
interesting
proud.
separate medal table elsewhere online. It's the medals per capita. So, of course, the US, 300-odd million.
I like this.
Yeah, so I think we're very high up on that. I think it's the Dominican Republic, which is topping the list. Yeah. But someone who knows much more than me, of course, about the Olympics is the former Welsh sprinting hero and silver Olympic medalist, Jamie Balch, who joins us now. Good morning, Jamie. Thank you so much for joining us. Does the activities and the greatness of Paris remind you of your own triumphs at Atlanta in 1996?
Yeah, well, it's unbelievable. It's just been so great to watch, you know, with the people doing so well there. It does bring it back. I can't believe that when I did it, it was in black and white television. It feels like it doesn't feel that long ago, but it's only when you look back, I think it's like 28 years now, you think, wow, what's happened there? But it's amazing to see them do so well.
Oh, and how amazing was it for you last night watching Katarina Johnson-Thompson not giving up? She finally got her Olympic medal.
Oh, I was so pleased for her. You know, I know her fairly well, and she's such a lovely human being. So to see her get her Olympic medal, you know, after all this time, is just brilliant. You know, she just so deserves it, and I'm so delighted for her.
Jamie, what's been your highlights of the Games so far? Is there one particular athlete or discipline that's really sort of tugged at your heartstrings?
Well, you know, obviously for me, it's it's going to be the track and field, but Matt Hudson-Smith, being a former 400-metre runner myself, to see what he did and obviously just miss out on the gold medal. I mean, the time he ran was insane. I mean, the guy is phenomenal. So I was just so, I know he was, very disappointed him coming second, but what he's actually done, I think when he reflects on that in years to come, he's going to be like, wow, what I achieved here in Paris was phenomenal. So Matt Hudson-Smith is mine.
Yeah. And what about those people who've missed out on gold by just a whisker? Talking about Katarina Johnson-Thompson, talking about Adam Peaty. We've seen it a lot in these games, people missing out, 0.02 seconds and things like that. Is that something that is really gutting, or does that make it better in a sense that it was just so close?
No. It's the worst. It's the worst feeling in the world. Yeah, no, I've been there with myself where you may have just missed out on a final, or you may have missed out on a medal, gold to silver. It's heart-wrenching. I mean, those people who've got silvers would have liked gold. Those people who've got bronzes would have liked, as a sports person, you want to be number one. You want to be that gold medal winner. There's some people who've come to the games, who didn't expect to get medals, which have got medals. So from that standpoint, it's been amazing.
Jamie, how close were you to gold? What was the time difference?
Well, we were about a second behind in the 4x4 relay. In fact, we're the second fastest time nation in history. We still got the British and European record, which is 28 years old now. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they get on tonight, to see if they're going to break the record, which should be broken because, we did it so long ago now. Just looking at some of that footage, that's me winning the World Championships. That was great.
How do you feel watching that footage?
Oh, it's incredible. Again, it seems like yesterday when I watch it, all that hard work and graft. I'm just one of the old people now watching in the armchair and enjoying it like the rest of us sort of thing. And, what always surprises me is when you see the people's ages, they're like 21, 22, 23. When I look back, I was 23 when I got my medal. You're just a kid. They're all kids getting these medals for the nation, and I just love that.
No, it's amazing. That's one thing that's really struck me, actually, watching the games over the past 2 weeks, is people born in 2002, 2003, now representing Team GB and winning medals for us. It's just incredible. Something that is so amazing about the Olympics, and I'm sure you agree, Jamie, is it can't ever be taken away from you. You can't be a former Olympian. You are an Olympian. You're part of history, and that's with you for life. That must just be the most incredible feeling and the most amazing achievement.
Yeah, it is. I mean, what I'm finding is the older I'm getting, when I got the Olympic medal initially, people are seeing me and going, oh, wow, it's Jamie Boris, you got the Olympic medal. But the older I'm getting, the more they're interested in my medal than myself. It's quite funny. But no, jokes aside, once an Olympian, always an Olympian. And I just feel proud to be one of them and to have a medal from there. It's incredible. Like I said, I'm really, really proud of everything which Team GB have done. Is just been cracking, and I'm looking forward to meeting some of the athletes who I know personally and giving them a big bear hug because they deserve it.
Where do you keep your medal, Jamie?
Well, funny enough, I lost it for about 6 months.
Oh, no.
And when my son was a little kid, he said, Dad, can I borrow your medal? Yeah. And he put it around his neck and he's running around. And it was in his Power Rangers box. So I lost it. But I never tell anyone where it's hidden and where it is because people might go to my house and get it. So,
I feel your pain, Jamie.
Put it this way, it's not in a special place. It's not framed up or anything like that. Yeah. And the reason I don't get so excited about the medal is because all my mates have got them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I feel your pain with that. It's like, where's my car keys gone? And it's at the bottom of some jigsaw puzzle box or something. Jamie, this is going to sound like a weird question, right? But we've got to go. Sorry, I'll ask you off air. We've got to go, unfortunately. Jamie, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it.
We'll be back after this short break.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Cloudy for some in the south, but brighter in the north before turning hot and humid Sunday and into Monday. But having a look at the bigger picture, we've got this waving feature, and that's responsible for the cloud and outbreaks of rain that we'll see in the south today. A bit of a squeeze in the isobars further towards the north. So a lot of cloud compared to yesterday, especially across parts of Wales, the Midlands and down towards the south. Perhaps thick enough enough for some spots of rain and drizzle. But in the north, best of the sunshine here with sunny spells. Still a few showers coming into Scotland, but these moving through quite quickly in a brisk wind. Highs here of 20 degrees, but further south 24 to 25. Now, as we go into the latter half of the day, clouds should melt away, so we'll start seeing some late evening sunshine across parts of Wales and the Midlands, but holding on to a lot of cloud further towards the south. Still sunny spells into the evening across Northern Ireland, Northern England, and holding on to a few showers across parts of Scotland still, but like I said, they're moving through quite quickly. So through Saturday evening and into the night, that cloud still persisting across the southern parts of England, so a murky night here and also quite humid and muggy as well. Elsewhere, clearer skies developing widely, showers generally fading across much of Scotland and actually feeling quite fresh underneath the clear skies, especially in the rural spots further towards the north. But underneath this cloud and murky conditions, a humid feel, temperatures 16 or 17 degrees. So as we start Sunday morning then, a lot of clouds still persisting across the south, but as we go into the afternoon, that should start breaking up to reveal sunny spells, and for the majority of the UK, plenty of warm and hot sunshine on offer, with temperatures climbing up to 29 degrees. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Celebrate a spectacular summer with your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash in our Great British Giveaway. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, and it's totally tax-free. What would you spend that on? Luxury holidays, a new car, or just put it away for a rainy day? Whatever you do with £30,000 in tax-free cash, make sure you don't miss out on a chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. I'm Ellie Costello alongside Ben Leo, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Great to have your company this morning, and we've got an action-packed second hour for you, including all of the day's top stories with author and broadcaster Jenny Trent-Hughes and former Apprentice star Trey Lowe.
And we'll be speaking to one of Britain's most decorated swimmers, Mark Foster. He's been busy in Paris for the past 2 weeks. He boasts a total of 51 medals, including 19 golds. We're going to hear all about his take on the Paris Olympics.
Gosh, what a legend. We'll also be joined by supermum Chloe McNiven, who took on an ultramarathon recently and completed it, I can't believe this, at 5 months pregnant.
Super.
I can't even be bothered to do a 5K these days, let alone an ultramarathon at 5 months pregnant.
Women are just amazing, don't you think?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
just 5.5 months pregnant. I mean, what will compel you? I don't know, but we're going to ask her. Do let us know what you think on any of the stories that we are talking about this morning. gbnews.com/yoursay.
But before we do anything else, Tatiana has all your news headlines.
Ben, Ellie, thank you. The top stories this hour. King Charles has called for mutual respect and unity following riots across the country, speaking out for the first time since the unrest began. He thanked the police and the emergency services for their efforts to restore peace and welcomed how communities have countered the violence. This comes after Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said the police should remain on high alert going into the weekend despite the violence easing. Police forces across the UK are on standby over this weekend, with Cabinet Office Minister Nick Thomas-Symonds saying the government is in a state of high readiness for the prospect of further disorder. Thousands of officers will be on duty as the Met continues to support and reassure communities. Teams are also visiting faith and community venues in their local areas to listen to the concerns of the residents and provide reassurance. Around 741 people have now been arrested over rioting. That's according to the National Police Chiefs Council, of which over 300 have now been charged. Merseyside Police says 2 more people have been charged there following violent disorder in Southport and Liverpool, bringing the total number of people charged to 24. A senior police service of Northern Ireland officers says there will be a significant visible policing operation in place ahead of a planned anti-immigration protest and counter-protest in Belfast. Assistant Chief Constable Melanie Jones says the police are expecting a very busy weekend for policing across Northern Ireland, with a risk of spontaneous protest. Around 1,000 people gathered in Belfast for a counter-protest against several hundred anti-immigration demonstrators last night. Police responded to several race-related hate crime incidents and other disorder on Thursday night as well, in what the police said was the 5th night of disorder that officers have dealt with. In other news, the funeral for British teenager Jay Slater, who died whilst on holiday in Tenerife, is currently being held. Well-wishers who attend the service have been asked to wear something blue in his memory. A post-mortem examination found the 19-year-old died of traumatic head injuries consistent with a fall from height. The Spanish Civil Guard said Mr. Slater could have fallen in the steep and inaccessible area where he was discovered. An investigation has now been launched after a plane crashed in the state of Sao Paulo in Brazil, killing all 61 people on board. The black box was found late last night. There was 57 passengers and 4 crew on board. And if you're watching on television, you'll see the dramatic scene of the plane spiralling out of control and crashing through the trees, eventually ending in a large plume of smoke. Dozens of people have been killed in a strike that targeted a school-turned-shelter in Gaza City. That's according to Palestinian health officials. According to Gaza's Civil Defense Agency, more than 100 people have been killed, with dozens more injured. Israel's military said it struck the location yesterday, describing its target as a Hamas command centre embedded in the school. Former President Donald Trump arrived to address the Republican masses at a rally in Montana this morning. The Republican nominee arrived at Bozeman, Montana, after his plane was reportedly diverted to a different airport due to a mechanical issue. This comes after Trump yesterday spent nearly an hour at his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida addressing a select group of reporters, claiming that America was in the most dangerous position it's ever been in, and called Kamala Harris, a radical left person.
Kamala is grossly incompetent and, in my opinion, has a very low IQ. But we'll find out about her IQ during the debate, OK? Let's find out about her IQ.
And in sport, the men's Team GB 400-metre relay team has come away with bronze at the Paris Olympics. The quartet of Great Britain's Zarnell Hughes, Nathaniel Mitchell-Blake, Louis Hinchcliffe and Jeremiah Azu finishing strong in the final in that 4x100. And that is, of course, after the women's team won silver in the 4x100 relay. Well, Team GB's Nathaniel Mitchell-Blake spoke to reporters after that victory and he praised his teammate Zarnell Hughes.
It's been an enjoyable experience to kind of just learn from each other and go through this process together. So I think that makes it even more special. He's the fastest man in British history. So having him as a part of our quartet will always bode well with us and always give us an opportunity to elevate the possibility of success. And for him to put his health literally on the line for all of us to achieve a medal, we're very grateful for that.
Congratulations, Team GB. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Tatiana Sanchez. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thanks, Tatiana. 11:06, Ben and Ellie with you on Saturday Morning Live. Now, the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said in his latest Daily Mail column that Sir Keir Starmer fails to understand the root causes of unrest across the UK, calling him even a human bollard once again.
Well, joining us now to discuss this is GB News political correspondent Olivia Utley. Very good morning to you, Olivia. And Boris Johnson not mincing his words with this one.
Well, absolutely. A very punchy piece in the Daily Mail today from the former Prime Minister. He begins by criticising Keir Starmer for his policy to close down prisons and, as a result, to release thousands of prisoners early, pointing out that basically he's painted himself into a bit of a corner with this. His solution to the riot seems to be to throw as many people in prison as possible, but with a massive overcrowding issue in prisons, that isn't really a long-term solution. He then goes on to talk about, and he's one of few sort of public figure politicians who has discussed this, the root cause of those riots, which of course is the immigration crisis. Now, Boris Johnson is not sparing in his criticism for the rioters. He says that there is no excuse ever to respond with violence. But he points out that one poll suggests that 34% of the British public sympathises with the rioters' cause. So, in other words, are worried about uncontrolled migration. Now, what is Keir Starmer going to do about that? Is he going to address the problem? As I say, so far his solution has been to sort of go through the courts, open up as many courts as possible, throw as many people in prison as possible, which might well be necessary. But is there another prong to this as well? Does he need to be having a conversation about immigration? And if so, how will that conversation go down with his voters? He has some voters who are very left-wing, who are very represented among his own MPs. Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, is probably of this category, who believe that even talking about controlling untramelled immigration is racist in itself. And then Keir Starmer also has voters who come from sort of true blue Conservative constituencies who got tired with the last government and decided to give Labour a chance. They think very, very differently about immigration. How does Starmer marry the two together?
Interesting. What do you make of Boris Johnson in himself? Because lots of viewers have said, well, hang on a minute, Boris, you were Prime Minister for a good chunk and you were in control of at least legal migration.
Well, I mean, this is what people always say about Boris, isn't it? Before he became Prime Minister, he was writing all these punchy, brilliant columns in newspapers where he seemed to have the answer to all of Britain's problems. Then he became Prime Minister. It was a bit of a damp squib few years. I mean, you could say that COVID was the reason for that and that all the sort of airway was taken up with the pandemic. But, as you point out, he didn't really do very much about legal migration. In fact, the person who did the most to tackle the legal migration problem, which is an issue too, there were 700,000 migrants to Britain last year who came here legally. That is an all-time high. But Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson's rival, actually did quite a lot to tackle that.
Yeah.
He brought in this exemption whereby those coming here on student visas or care visas or health visas aren't allowed to bring with them their dependents or family members. Now, that change has seen legal migration reduced by nearly a third over the last year, which is really going to help Keir Starmer, actually, in tackling the problem without having to talk about tackling the problem.
Another Conservative gift for Labour. So you've got the migration coming down, all the economic gifts, inflation coming down, interest rates. Nice timing for Sir Keir Starmer. Olivia, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Things have been really heating up across the nation this week, of course, with the protests. There are more protests planned across the country today as well.
Well, we're joined now by our national reporter, Charlie Peters, who's outside Scotland Yard. Good to see you this morning, Charlie. And police remain on high alert, don't they, this weekend, concerned about further unrest?
That's right, the police are on high alert. Thousands of officers remain able to be deployed nationwide to deal with any violent disorder or sudden protests. But it's not just manpower, it's also legal powers. This morning, Northumbria Police announcing that they've introduced additional legal powers in Newcastle and the surrounding area to deal with stop and search, and also allowing them to confiscate any items that might conceal identity. A core part of these protests over the last 12 days has been the number of people turning up in masks or covering their faces, potentially to avoid prosecution for any criminality. Now, these powers come in as there's also been a start of a protest in Manchester at the moment. That's a Stand Up to Racism rally. Now, that's one of several that the group has planned today in Birmingham, in Edinburgh.
A week later, that inspired those people to go and try and burn it down. So politicians need to be careful what they say and what they do, because we are all here to hold them to account. We are here to demand that there's safe passage for refugees, that have every right to be here in this country.
Well, while that's all going on, there are also ongoing protests in London. That's expected to come up today, in Manchester, in Birmingham and in Edinburgh. And the National Police Chiefs Council Chair has said that the police, they feel as though a tide has turned. They've turned a corner after the last serious violent disorder took place on Tuesday evening in Plymouth, but they're not being complacent. Now, the head of the Met on Thursday morning, after those large demonstrations on Wednesday, said that it was a show of unity from communities, appearing to praise the large number of people who came out. But the day after, Nick Thomas-Symonds, the Cabinet Office Minister, said he didn't want to encourage anyone to protest. The police are spread thin at the moment, and they're concerned about demonstrations from both sides on this issue.
OK, Charlie Peters there for us outside New Scotland Yard. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Charlie. Stay safe as well. Jenny Trent-Hughes is here, and Trey will be here in a second, former Apprentice Star trailer. He's just popped out. I'll let him explain where he is. But Jenny, welcome back. In the Times today, page 3, the Edinburgh Fringe shoots itself in foot with trigger warning spree. So apparently lots of performances have trigger warnings before in case the audience gets offended. What do you make of that?
What a nonsense. I mean, but seriously, what a nonsense. First of all, if you're the Edinburgh Fringe, one of the reasons you are at the Edinburgh Fringe, it's not like you're at the proms. You know, you're looking for edgy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You're looking for new stuff. You're looking for different ways to approach forever subjects. No, just no.
And you'd understand if it's really harrowing content, you maybe have to have a trigger warning. But there's trigger warnings at the Edinburgh Fringe this year for things like drinking alcohol, the sound of fire alarms and talking about periods. I mean, that's extreme, is it not?
I think the whole idea is absolutely ridiculous. And I think it's some more of that infantilization of the population. I'm a grown-up. I don't need to... I do understand the flashing lights one. That's because that sets off people. Yes, that's a health thing.
Well, there's another good one, warning about... causing fury by revealing plot spoilers. I mean, that's not a bad one, is it? That's not wokery.
See, there's also one here about audience participation, but I actually think that's a good thing, so I like to know if I'm going to be included in the show.
Yeah.
I get a bit
If you're going to get heckled in the front row.
Yeah, I do want to know if I'm going to be picked on.
Well, the thing is that I think that when you go to a show, any kind of show like that, you want to stand in the lobby looking through the door because you know that they're going to pick on you. You know, you, the blonde, you know, you, the old lady in the stripy trousers. No, no.
Yeah. Welcome back, Trey.
Hey.
Been on an adventure.
Decided to join us, Trey. Did you enjoy your trip to the bathroom?
It was brilliant.
He was taking a nap. He was power napping. I saw him.
No, I was just making sure I was really prepped to come out ready to.
What do you make of these trigger warnings at Edinburgh Festival?
Do you know, right, I'm 49, so I'm from a different generation. Obviously, I'm not really a massive fan of it because I just think it's like it's creativity or it's comedy. Like you should be going here thinking whatever comes up, we're going to roll with it.
Yeah.
That's just my generation. But I do get it, like you've said. I've gone places where someone gets bullied because of what they're wearing or maybe what they look like. So, yeah, I get so. You know what I mean? Some people want to know that they're going to be the butt of the joke for the day, but I think they should not overdo it.
No, and there might be a sense that they are now. Let us know what you think, gbnews.com/you'll say. Let's talk about the breakfast pint. You know, when you've got an early flight, you've got a red eye, would you be tempted to have a drink at the airport before you take off?
A pint of orange juice or cranberry juice, maybe, but not alcohol. No, that's just pathetic.
Yeah, no, not in the morning.
No.
You know, as though I quite like the fact that people are becoming a lot healthier.
Yeah,
you know,
apparently you're shunning it now. You don't get a breakfast pint at the airport.
Yeah, I don't mind it. You know, something a bit healthy, maybe a smoothie or a shot or something like that. I mean, a shot of turmeric, not a shot of vodka. But
at the airport.
Do you?
Yeah, any time of the morning. I don't care what time the flight.
Not in the morning, though.
Prosecco.
Do you?
Yeah, always. Doesn't matter what time the flight is.
But why? Is it sort of jittery nerves or just?
No. Totally. My holiday starts at whatever time I get to the airport.
I've never understood it. My mates used to go abroad on lads' holidays. From the moment we got to the airport, lagers and pints.
Yeah, I think it's great.
I never got involved in it. I just don't see the fascination in it.
Oh, I think it's so fun.
Maybe I'm a bit wet.
I think your activities, your fun should start at the airport. The holiday starts.
Can we have a discussion, probably not here right now, but about Prosecco? I need for you to get me to understand.
No, I'm not mad on Prosecco, to be honest, but I would have it at the airport.
Prosecco's nice.
Champagne, I understand.
Champagne, yes. Prosecco,
So if you guys
I don't understand.
If you did a blind test, you would know the difference between Prosecco and champagne.
You would.
Oh, instantly.
Of course you would know.
I love that.
It's very, very dry. No, I'd always prefer champagne. But sometimes in the airport you don't get a choice, Jenny. And I'll just take what I can get.
Oh, okay.
But depends, are you tempted by an airport pint? Are you one of these that has shunned it now? Apparently people prefer going to fancy... This is your fault, Trevor. Shots and smoothies is what people prefer now, and alcohol-free beer. Let us know if that's you.
But you're not just hungover, though, for the first day of your holiday? Surely you just feel
I think you've quite literally just got to fly on through.
Oh, see, I'm not that big of a drinker, so it's just not me. If I did that, if I got drunk on a plane or had like early morning pints, I'd be finished for the next 2 days. I'd lose 3 days of my
That's the issue, I think, because then you don't really enjoy it as much because you're like nursing a hangover the whole time.
Oh, no, pathetic, the lot of you.
That's our holiday cancelled.
I'm afraid we're out of time. But we had fun.
That was fun.
Jenny,
Thank you.
Thanks very much. We've had
Thanks, guys.
emails in saying that everybody loved you today, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really good to see you. Still to come, more fun to come. We're going to be joined by Stephanie Tecci for all the latest in the showbiz world.
Yes, but up next, back in the UK from his recent trip across the Channel, you'll have seen him on your screens in Paris at the Aquatic Centre. Olympic swimming legend Mark Foster will be here in the studio. You do not want to miss it. Very excited. He's out there. I can see him through the glass, and I'm getting giddy.
We're excited.
Back in a sec.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry. Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
We got an incredible story this week of a young teenager who has raised more than £5,000 for charity.
13-year-old, just 13 years old, Cameron Hutchison cycled the West Highland Way with his dad, Colin, in just 25 hours, raising money for international food charity Mary's Meals. And the 96-mile route took Cameron and Colin to the foot
of Ben Nevis.
Wow. Now, the organisation provides daily school meals to more than 2.4 million children in countries such as Syria, Haiti and Malawi.
We are delighted to be joined now by cyclist and fundraiser Cameron Hutchison. Cameron, it's so lovely to have you here. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well.
Well, we're very impressed to have you. We are honoured to have you. First of all, do you like cycling?
Yeah, it's one of my favourite sports, so yeah, I just wanted to do that.
What kind of bike did you do that enormous distance in? Did you have a special bike? Was it adapted?
Well, it was my cross-country bike that I just normally use for cross-country races. So, yeah.
Wow.
You can actually see it on the screen there with the blue handlebars. That's the bike I was using.
We can, and quite a route you went on as well. So, Cameron, you're 13 years old. When did you start cycling?
I've sort of been cycling my whole life. So I got a little red balance bike when I was maybe 3 or 2, maybe. And then I kind of just got bigger bikes as I went on.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have saved Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. 11:21, Ben and Eddie with you on I was about to say Good Morning Britain.
I know you were about to say that.
Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News. Now, Team GB at the Olympics have been jumping up the medals table across the past 2 weeks in all sports, and we've certainly kept the French hosts on their toes.
Yep, we're 5th in the medal table. We've actually got more medals than 4th and 3rd place. We're actually above France in terms of medals. So I think we're doing great. And someone who knows all about it is Mark Foster. He's been giving us plenty of insights during the course of this year's Olympics, and he has the perfect pedigree, given that he is a former Olympian himself. Mark, we are honoured to have you in the studio with us this morning. You must be absolutely exhausted. Every time I turned on the telly, there you were.
A little bit tired, but the beauty for me is I always sort of say the next best thing to doing it is talking about it. So it felt a privilege to sort of be there and feel that you're... I don't know, who wouldn't want to go to the Olympics and watch? I mean, they pay fortunes for tickets, and I get to be there every night. And I think I got the dress code right this morning, by the way.
We're blending very well.
We are.
Do you ever feel the need to jump in the pool and get involved and want to compete again?
Yeah. The thing is, it's like, I would say this from any sports person, I think that it is the best job in the world in terms of, as a kid at school, you like playing sport. Sport's a game. Right, and then game becomes your living. The downside is at some point you're going to have to retire. So I'd have loved to have continued to do it. I retired at 38. That was after my 5th Olympics. Simply, I would have carried on till now if the body would have managed it.
Look on screen
there you are.
Yeah,
look at the guns.
Dodgy hairdo. You've got some old school pictures here.
What year was that? Can you remember?
We're in the archives.
That was winning the Worlds, I think, in 2000. That one with James Hickman, and the other one that was Commonwealth Games in '98. I do believe.
Can I ask you a question? I was going to ask Jamie Bolch earlier in the show, but we ran out of time. When I watch sport, recent memories include Mo Farah winning the 5,000 metres in 2012.
Yeah.
I did it with Keely Hodgkinson, this time winning the 800. I get so emotional. I cry happy tears, and it happens quite a lot with sport. Andy Murray winning Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Do you know why that is? What's your explanation for that?
I'm only guessing that you personally get emotionally invested.
Yeah.
But in a good way. It's sort of, I don't know, I guess you feel proud that those people are representing your country and you sort of get involved a little bit in their journey. I
was saying that so early. I think maybe subconsciously about the times they've dragged themselves to training, the years, the pressure and so on and so on. Do you get like that with sport?
Well, it's always one of those things, right? You never see, as the public, you never see what goes on behind the scenes. You just see, I'm going to say, the glory days. You just see the moments in front of the TV. So for swimming, the Olympics is once every 4 years. So unless you're into swimming, you might watch the Europeans or the Commonwealths or the World Championships. You don't see these athletes. You see them once every 4 years, but you don't see also the training that goes in behind it. And my similarity would be like a skyscraper. You see the top of the skyscraper, you don't see skyscrapers have massive foundations. So you don't see the dark hours, the early mornings, that sort of hard graft. I always think that the bit on the screen is the easy bit, because that's the competing side of it. The hard graft goes into those early mornings, the weight sessions, the stuff you don't see.
So you won a combined total of, I think, 51 medals, including 19 golds. Do you ever get emotional looking back at your own career? Do you have time to
No, I just felt fortunate.
Oh.
You know, I loved it, and I think I loved the training aspect. I mean, athletes, I'm going to say, beat themselves up for a living. Every day they're trying to push their bodies to limits. But I felt privileged that I found... How many people can say they love what they do?
Yeah.
And my job became something that I loved, passionate, hobby, whatever you want to call it. The hard side is, OK, when you retire, what do you do next? But my sportsman mentality is, do you know what? I'll try anything. I'm not afraid of a challenge, and I'll just see what comes out the other side. And how can you say you enjoy doing something without trying? So I kind of try everything and just throw myself in with the same mentality.
And you were at the Olympics 5 times, weren't you? What was the highlight of those 5 games? Because you were flag bearer, weren't you, in 2008,
In 2008, good knowledge. You've done your research.
Yeah.
She's got her brief. Thank you, Chris.
I read my brief, yeah.
What was it? My first Olympics was 1988 in Seoul. I was 18 years of age.
Wow.
I went to 5 Olympics. I missed 2004 because I got injured before those Olympics in Athens. So it could have been 6th. Yeah, the highlight was carrying the flag round at the opening ceremony for me in 2008. But
Can you describe that feeling, carrying your nation's flag?
I felt humble, first of all, that I was nominated by the rest of Team GB to be the flag bearer, because everyone nominates. There were 7 people shortlisted my year to be flag bearer. One was Tom Daley, one was Jamie Murray, myself, and there were 7 of us. And I remember Princess Anne came up to a lectern the night before the opening ceremony in Chinese ambassador's residence in Beijing, and I was listening to sort of every word she said, because I knew this would be my last opportunity, my last Olympics, and she started off by saying he, and there was a lady in there, so I went, OK, that's 6 of us. And then she went, has dedicated his career, and I was like, well, Tom Daley's 14, he's not had a career, so I was still in it. And then I realised it was going to be me, and it was humble. There was 500 Team GB members walking into the stadium, they were singing songs, and I just kept... it was a humble experience.
So you were you were a kid at your first Olympics?
Yeah.
18?
Yeah. Well, I first represented Britain at 15 years of age. I was national senior champion at 15 and record holder at 15. First major championship was 1986 Commonwealth Games in Edinburgh, and I was this little 16-year-old I had a Mohican. I wasn't coloured, but I don't know what I was doing, but anyway, I got carried away. And I remember being on that team with the likes of Colin Jackson and Linford Christie, and they were people that I watched on the TV. And I think throughout my career, when I watched people on TV, I just wanted to be like them, sports people, because I just love movement and I love playing sport. So then all of a sudden to be on a team with them, you kind of go, this is cool. But then you also realise that, hang on, they go to the dinner hall like me, they go training like me, then why can't I be like them? And then my sort of level of expectation and also realisation that I can, because they're just normal. They're not... Because on TV you think these people are superhuman. And that's where it sort of changed and it sort of shifted in a sense.
Well, they are superhuman, in a sense, aren't they? I mean, I'm just absolutely obsessed with the Olympics. It's always on in my house when it's on. I'm not even a particularly sporty person, but I think it is that, looking at them like they're superhuman, but it's also huge amounts of dedication. They're like ducks on the surface of a pond, aren't they? It's all underneath.
What goes on underneath the water. Yeah. But, I mean, they're all superhuman. They're not superhuman, they're just human. But they when you obsess about something, and you do it over and over and over again, it's amazing how good you can become.
Yeah.
But that's not just with sport. That could be with TV, that could be an artist. That's anybody that does anything. The more you do it, the better you become. I mean, that's obvious. It's just that some people are a little bit more talented than others.
So it's the consistency, of course, of training. But is it... you mentioned then when you said you were in the room with Colin Jackson and so on, and you realised they're just like me. We're all going for dinner, we're doing the same things.
Yeah.
Was it then that you established that self-belief that you need to really push on to the higher level?
I
think you belonged there.
And the lucky thing for certain people is if you're in a training group, like Adam Peaty's training group, Duncan Scott, I'm going to use swimmers, for example, or athletes, but if you're in a training group with people that are already great, by hanging them around them, you kind of go, well, it just becomes your normal.
Yeah.
Whereas when you see them on the TV and they're afar, you always think they're great. So all of a sudden, I think just by being around people...
You normalise it almost.
You normalise it all, exactly. I'm just going to say quickly, in case you don't ask me, my highlight of the Olympic Games...
That was my next question.
Your question. In the swimming perspective...
We're in sync.
Men's 4x200 freestyle relay. The same relay that won 3 years ago, let's call it 4 years ago, the last Olympic Games, are the same team that did it again. So Matt Richards, James Guy, Duncan Scott and Tom Dean, they backed up the relay, and will they go again in another 4 years? Because they are young enough. Just to see that, from that team perspective, that gold medal. But my big one was a guy called Ben Proud. Ben Proud, 50-metre freestyle, silver medalist. He came 4th in Rio, 5th in Tokyo, and then he won this time. But he'd won everything else, but this is the one. And this is, in my eyes, I'd be biased because it's my event. The 50 freestyle is the hardest event in the swim calendar, because everyone wants to sprint freestyle. It's the shortest event, the small touches, but everybody wants to swim sprint freestyle, because as a kid, when you ran, you wanted to be quick, right?
Yeah.
And then along the way, you kind of go, OK, I can't do that event, I'll go a bit further, or I can't do that event, I'll jump. I'm using athletics.
It's kind of like starting as a striker in football and ending up at the back as a left back.
Exactly. Everyone wants to be the glory one, the fastest swimmer. So that is the hardest event, and he came away with the silver medal, 500ths off gold, and that, to me, was my highlight.
He shook off his Olympic hoodoo, I guess.
He did. Yeah. He got there. And he's only one step away, and to me, he will go for another 4 years, because he's always constantly learning and wants to progress.
Mark, I don't know if you have much to say about it, but what do you make of kind of maybe the wider conversation on trans athletes or intersex athletes in sports? We had the boxing last night where Romain Khalif won gold. Lots of controversy about whether they have XY chromosomes or whether they're a female. Is reducing testosterone in, for example, trans athletes, is that enough to bring the playing field to a closer level?
I don't know enough about it in my mind. What tells me, and what I do know, that's not fair. I think I remember I talked a lot with, because I'm not that well educated in this area. I know bits and I know what I read, but I spoke a lot to Sharon Davis, and she was saying to me, back in the 70s, early 80s, there was a simple sex test, which was a swab test in the inside of your mouth, and it said if you're XX or XY. If it's as simple as that, I don't know why everyone can't do it. And then, but again, I don't know the background with this, but from what I do know, World Boxing had said that it wasn't fair. So then I don't know why the IOC said it was fair and why they didn't take the lead from World Boxing. So, and when you're in a sport a combat sport, which could be potentially really dangerous.
Yeah.
Then I think it needs looking at a little bit more.
Yeah, and now that we're seeing these two boxers, so Iman Khalif and there's a Taiwanese boxer tonight in her final, Ling Yong Ting, they're both set for golds. And do you think it will be, if they both win gold, that we'll see that perhaps needs to be reviewed?
Yeah, well, it raises more of an eyebrow.
For the
and
IOC,
then it also says, I told you so. So from that point of view, I'll use a swimming one. So Leah Thomas.
Yeah.
Who I think was William Thomas. I might get that name wrong, but William Thomas before it was Leah Thomas. And William Thomas, as a male swimmer, was something like 500th in the NC2A rankings as a male. Transitioned to being a female, Leah, and then won. So that's if I go, I need proof. That's my proof that you have an advantage. So I kind of go back to, it's not fair, and I think women have fought for rights for years just to vote, and then all of a sudden just to have sport on a level playing field. And from that point of view, it's completely not fair.
Yeah. The argument is that they've reduced their testosterone to a level that would mimic a female's, but I've seen loads of scientific studies saying that if you go through male puberty, you've got bigger bone density, bigger lung capacity, more capacity to produce ATP in your muscles. You're just, just because you've got low testosterone doesn't mean that negates everything you've been through puberty. So it's a difficult one, isn't it?
Definitely not.
What are we going to take from Paris, do you think? Because we always talk about legacy, don't we? We talk about legacy of London 2012. What are we going to take from this Games? We're doing great, 5th, aren't we, in the medal table?
I think the team have done well. There's a lot of, I can say from the pool, Adam Peaty lost by 2/100ths of a second, Matt Richards lost by 2/100ths of a second, Ben Proud
There's been lots of close shaves, haven't there?
There's those tiny little... We always talk about marginal gains and where do those advantages come from, or how do we make those marginal gains up? So it's a game of marginal gains, but we've been on the right side of some of them and on the wrong side of some of them. I think the team as a whole has done good. I think really good. Did we do great? No, but we've done really, really good. Can we do better? Yes, possibly. I think the swim team's been great on the men's side, and the women's side is, again, a few near misses, and I think those near misses and Harad Evans on the breaststroke. She's one for the future. Katie Shanahan did good. There was a few near misses. But I think the team across the board, we put a structure in place that enables athletes to be on their best when they get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's happened, and we can just continue doing what we're doing and invest in sport. And the more we invest, the better we do.
Well, it pays off, doesn't it? Clearly pays off.
Yeah.
We're doing great. Thank you so much, Mark Foster, you're a legend.
Thanks,
so
Roland.
good to have you in
Thanks
the
for having
studio.
me.
Thank you so much. We're going to get the news headlines now with Tatiana.
Emily, thank you. The top stories this hour. King Charles has called for mutual respect and unity following riots across the country, speaking out for the first time since the unrest began. He thanked the police and the emergency services for their efforts to restore peace and welcomed how communities have countered the violence. This comes after Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said the police should remain on high alert going into the weekend, despite the violence easing. Police forces across the UK are on standby over this weekend, with Cabinet Office Minister Nick Thomas-Symonds saying the government is in a state of high readiness for the prospect of further disorder. Thousands of officers will be on duty as the Met continues to support and reassure communities. Around 741 people have now been arrested over rioting. That's according to the National Police Chiefs Council, of which 302 have been charged. Merseyside Police says 2 more people have been charged following violent disorder in Southport and Liverpool, bringing the total number of people charged there to 24. A senior police service of Northern Ireland officers says there will be a significant visible policing operation in place ahead of a planned anti-immigration protest today and counter-protest in Belfast. Assistant Chief Constable Melanie Jones says the police are expecting a very busy weekend for policing across Northern Ireland, with a risk of spontaneous protest. Around 1,000 people gathered in Belfast for a counter-protest against several hundred anti-immigration demonstrators last night. In other news, the funeral for British teenager Jay Slater, who died whilst on holiday in Tenerife, is being held today. Well-wishers who attend the service have been asked to wear something blue in his memory. A post-mortem examination found the 19-year-old died of traumatic head injuries consistent with a fall from height. The Spanish Civil Guard said Mr. Slater could have fallen in the steep and inaccessible area where he was discovered. And in sport, the men's Team GB 400-metre relay team has come away with bronze at the Paris Olympics. The quartet of Great Britain's Zarnell Hughes, Nathaniel Mitchell-Blake, Louis Hinchcliffe and Jeremiah Azu finishing strong at the final in that 4x100. That is, of course, after the women's team won silver in the 4x100 relay. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Tatiana Sanchez. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Cloudy for some in the south, but brighter in the north before turning hot and humid Sunday and into Monday. But having a look at the bigger picture, we've got this waving feature, and that's responsible for the cloud and outbreaks of rain that we'll see in the south today. A bit of a squeeze in the isobars further towards the north. So a lot of cloud compared to yesterday, especially across parts of Wales, the Midlands and down towards the south. Perhaps thick enough for some spots of rain and drizzle. But in the north, best of the sunshine here with sunny spells. Still a few showers coming into Scotland, but these moving through quite quickly in a brisk wind. Highs here of 20 degrees, but further south 24 to 25. Now, as we go into the latter half of the day, clouds should melt away, so we'll start seeing some late evening sunshine across parts of Wales and the Midlands, but holding on to a lot of cloud further towards the south. Still sunny spells into the evening across Northern Ireland, Northern England, and holding on to a few showers across parts of Scotland still, but like I said, they're moving through quite quickly. So through Saturday evening and into the night, that cloud still persisting across the southern parts of England, so a murky night here and also quite humid and muggy as well. Elsewhere, clearer skies developing widely, showers generally fading across much of Scotland and actually feeling quite fresh underneath the clear skies, especially in the rural spots further towards the north. But underneath this cloud and murky conditions, a humid feel, temperatures 16 or 17 degrees. So as we start Sunday morning then, a lot of clouds still persisting across the south, but as we go into the afternoon, that should start breaking up to reveal sunny spells, and for the majority of the UK, plenty of warm and hot sunshine on offer, with temperatures climbing up to 29 degrees. Bye-bye.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true.
You're not wrong.
No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 11:40. Ben and Ellie with you on Saturday Morning Live. That's the show.
Yes, well done.
Time now for your weekly dose of showbiz news with Steph Tetchy. Good morning,
Good morning.
Lots going on in Paris. The closing ceremony is imminent.
It's literally going to be happening tomorrow. You know the opening ceremony.
Yes.
Well, I was going to say the opening ceremony.
Sorry.
A lot of people said it didn't have the je ne sais quoi, and it received a lot of criticism. It sparked a lot of debate. So the creative director Thomas Stolle has gone extra hard for the closing ceremony.
I'm worried about that.
Same here. Apparently, they've practiced umpteenth times to get it right. Apparently, it's going to be a star-studded affair.
Hang on, is it the same director from the opening ceremony?
Same director.
Oh my goodness.
This is what I'm saying.
You know, he received a lot of death threats. The people, the acts that were involved received death threats. So this is the chance for the French to get it right. And I think it is going to be a star-studded affair. There has been talk of Tom Cruise. He apparently is going to be scaling down the Stade de France.
Of course he is.
Because, you know, they need to do the crossover between Paris and Los Angeles. So apparently there's going to be a segment where he receives the Olympic flags, then ends up at the Hollywood sign. So look out for Tom Cruise tomorrow. There has been talk about maybe Taylor Swift performing. Unfortunately,
I'll be tuning in.
Can't wait, because obviously we had heard what's happened this week about the unfortunate concerts that she was supposed to take place in Vienna that had to be cancelled, so maybe Taylor might be available tomorrow. But they are going to be calling tomorrow's closing ceremony Records. So basically it's based on a futuristic world where games do not exist.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
games don't exist?
Yeah.
Not Olympic Games?
Yeah, so I'm not sure about that.
Oh, do we know anything about the detail? Thomas Jolly.
Yes.
Do we know anything about the detail in terms of, will it be based on the Seine like we saw in the opening ceremony, which was a bit damp?
They've kept that top secret.
Interesting.
But I hope they do it in the stadium, because I think when it was on the Seine, it didn't really work. It was almost too exposed.
It got a bit lost,
didn't it? Intimate. Apparently Snoop Dogg will be making a little appearance as well. So they are going to be bringing, I think there's going to be this cross-reference between the French and the Americans tomorrow.
Right. And usually they don't get along too well, so that's going to be interesting.
It's going to be a 2-hour show, so tune in.
They should have fired that guy from the opening ceremony.
I don't think he'll be doing anything big for them again in the future.
Well, they had to apologise after the first ceremony.
This was France's big moment, you know, and for the opening ceremony, that's what people talk about, and that's what goes down in history. So he has to rectify it.
I guess in their defence, he's probably been planning this closing ceremony for a long time and knows it. So you mentioned Taylor Swift there. So Vienna, of course, was cancelled because of the terror threat. Wembley is going ahead in a couple of weeks.
It is going ahead.
Next week.
Yeah, Sadiq Khan has come out and said, you know, that they have been working with the intelligence in Austria, and there is nothing to say that something, God forbid, will happen in the London shows. But obviously it means that security is going to be beefed up and they are going to be looking at certain aspects of the show. And obviously the main thing is to make sure that the audience are safe. And obviously I don't know how Taylor must be feeling about performing, because, you know, no one likes to feel like you're putting on a show like she has with her Eras tour. It's gone worldwide. It's been a success and she's nearly in the final leg for Europe. and for this to happen.
You can imagine that she's really shaken and upset, actually, by this terrorist plot being foiled, because we heard her come out, didn't we, after the Southport attacks and saying that she just didn't know what to say, didn't know what to think. She was completely shattered and broken by it. And it'll be the same now. Should we be worried about her fans? Should we be worried about their safety?
Same thing. And I think what's happened is that they've been happening so close together, and that's the thing. And I've done an interview with Jess Phillips, the MP, earlier this week, and, you know, she was saying the same thing, that it's easy to target events like Taylor's because you've got these big crowds of young people and they're just
women, girls.
That's the connection there.
Soft targets, isn't it?
So
Would you still go to Wembley? If you had tickets, would you go?
I would still go, definitely, but I would be apprehensive.
I was looking for tickets last night.
You've already been.
And I was looking to go again.
Twice is nice.
Twice is always nice. No, but people have been selling their tickets. It's a good point, because people have been selling their tickets, haven't they?
They have been, and I think it's that terror that people feel, and that's when you let the terrorists win, when they affect what you're going to be doing on your day-to-day and how we integrate as a society at entertainment events.
And when we were talking to Will Geddes yesterday, who's a security specialist, he was saying that the intelligence in London is the best in the world.
It is.
So you are safe going to a concert.
And that's why
in London.
Sadiq Khan has come out and he said, you know what, we're still going to go ahead with the show. So let's just hope it's a safe one.
Yes.
Just quickly on my neighbour, you've got 30 seconds. My neighbour, Katie Price, down in Sussex, she was arrested at Heathrow Airport.
Yeah, she's come back to face the music. Obviously, she's just had her 6th facelift. But, you know, she has been ordered that she has to come back for the court appearance. If she doesn't, she may find herself in custody again.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. Poor Katie Price.
Keep us posted,
I will
Steph.
do.
Thank you very much. Whistle-stop tour there through the showbiz. Thank you very much. Always good to see you. Do stay with us. We're going to be joined in the studio by another legend, Chloe McNiven. We've got a great show today. She has successfully completed one of the most gruelling challenges of her life, a 50-kilometre marathon across a Welsh mountain at 5 months pregnant.
Goodness me. You won't want to miss that. Stick with us Saturday morning live on GB News. Back in a tick.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Alex, can you tell us about Tom Cruise's diet?
Tom Cruise's diet, I mean, so there was the story today in the Daily Mail talking about the fact that obviously, you know, the guy has a very, very strict diet. He pretty much has no alcohol in his diet, has very strict times he eats. He only eats meat and fish.
Isn't happy.
And actually, can I just say, I think this is very depressing. You know, life is short. I don't know why people have... And lots of my friends who go to the gym, they're absolutely obsessed with only having chicken and rice and barely any sauce on it. It's just, what's the point, you know?
You make a good point. Life is short. What do they...
And so is Tom Cruise.
YOLO, you only live once.
Yeah, YOLO.
But then you can live your life as you want to live it. So if you want to live it the healthiest person ever in the whole world, then, you know, that's your one life.
But you raised a great point in the meeting today, which is 64 old anymore? It's not, sort of 62. It's not old, is it?
No.
62 is the new 40.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, Tom Cruise is a multi-millionaire. Doesn't he want to just, like, relax and enjoy his life now? Why is he still getting up at 5:30 in the morning to go to the gym and eating chicken breasts with no sauce on it?
OK, Tom Cruise is another one of these driven people. Tom Cruise is absolutely 100% driven to drive a fighter pilot aeroplane. I mean, how could you actually learn to drive a plane? He is so driven, he is so disciplined, and when you're that disciplined, you know about blood, alcohol, you know, sugar spikes. I bet you he drinks vinegar. Bet you any money he's into gut health. I'm telling you, gut health is in. Everyone's talking about gut health.
But what's the point when you're 62?
No,
I'm hoping when I'm 62 that I'll just chill out.
He doesn't.
No way.
He doesn't need the money either. He can just chill. Like,
no, he doesn't want to chill. He so doesn't want to chill. I tell you what, in Hollywood, because my husband's a film producer, in Hollywood, you know, when they retire, they're either 90 or they're dead.
Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel. Sunday nights on GB News. From 6, Neil Oliver. At 7, it's Free Speech Nation with Andrew Doyle. At 9, Mark Dolan. And at 11, get set for the week ahead with headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Now, an ultramarathon is a huge feat to compete at any stage in life, and our next guest, Chloe McNiven, has recently successfully taken on one of the most gruelling challenges of her life, a 50k ultramarathon across the Welsh mountains.
But what's even more impressive than all of that is she just completed that at 5 months pregnant.
Goodness me.
Absolutely incredible. Chloe, you join us now. So good to see you. And I mean this as the biggest compliment, but you are crazy.
Thank you.
What compelled you to do an ultramarathon at 5 months pregnant?
So I have been on a running journey since becoming a mum.
Yeah.
So my journey started when I became a mum, and I got curious, and I signed up for marathons, and that quickly turned to this ultra athlete world, and it was very addictive, and I found that my life completely transformed when I took up these races. And I had a race planned for the end of the year, and when I got pregnant I thought, I can do that.
Don't let it
Why
stop you.
can't I do that?
Yeah.
Like, why? Pregnancy is not powerless, and I know that from my first birth. So I just thought, if I can show the world what we're capable of.
Is that your little girl there? Sorry to interrupt on screen.
Yeah,
She's so cute. What's her name?
So.
Oh, so cute.
And, she comes on the runs, you'll see in a minute, but she's trained with me the full time. So I've been running with a pram.
And you did this 50 kilometres 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you were 5.5 months pregnant now.
Yeah.
It was 5 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Did you feel? Did you feel the baby? I'm not sure if it's too early. Did you feel the baby responding at all?
Do you know what? I really feel like the baby played the exact game. It was like we were in such harmony, and I really mean that. When you're in the mountains and when you're alone and it's just you and, your thoughts, you get really deep. These are not just physical pursuits, they're spiritual pursuits. Yes. And when I was at the top of these mountains, I was so connected to that baby. It was so euphoric. And honestly, when we finished, it just started to kick. And it was like, yeah,
it's like you did it together.
Yeah, absolutely. I was saying, thank you so much, much. And it really, your energy is so important for the baby.
Yeah.
What we give to ourselves and the energy we put in and put out is so important, and I know it will have an impact.
I've got a question for you, because I've always been fascinated by it.
Oh, look, he's choked up.
Do you reckon? Yeah, sorry, I was tearing up a little bit there. Luckily, the picture's on screen.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that when you train and you're fit, when you're pregnant, and even as a man when you conceive, do you reckon the baby and the fetus inherits any of that present level of fitness and
Honestly,
the benefits together?
Absolutely, and I don't just say that to blow up my own pursuit, because I did that 100% for sure, and I know that from having my little girl. I've exercised throughout my full first pregnancy, and even I do breath work and cold water therapy, and my little girl's watched that, and that's just her normal now. Like, she knows if she's at the top of a skate park, she'll use her breath.
Yeah.
She instantly knows, so monkey see, monkey do, right? And I think if we start now, we're really conditioning them.
And it is this example that you're setting for your children as well, isn't it? And it's not just a physical endurance, which is obviously something that you can do, but it's a holistic thing as well, isn't it? It's in the mind,
and it's all in the mind.
It's all about drive and determination and being determined to
that
succeed.
was the point. People were saying, why do you have to do that? Like, why do you have to do that? And because if I'm the strongest that I can be, if I'm building mental resilience, if I'm breaking down old beliefs and patterns that we can and we can't do this, then I'm conditioning my children to be able to do the same. And it's so important.
I'm going to be a bit of a party pooper now.
Okay.
Some people might say that, is it safe doing this when pregnant? What's the science behind it?
I think it's case-by-case basis. I was a professional dancer throughout my full life, so I've danced at a high level, so I've always used my body, and for the last couple of years I've been training for ultramarathons, so actually the advice, and I of course seek professional advice, and they were so supportive, and they said, if you've been doing that, your body knows how to do that, and evidently it works.
And you know your body best as well, the intuition you've got with your body.
That's it.
Do you know what sex your baby is?
It's a little boy.
Oh, is it?
What a beach! How lovely! Oh, congratulations! That is just the best news. And birth's going to be a breeze now, isn't it? Let's be
I'm
honest.
having a home birth, so I feel like that was a preparation.
And are you doing natural birth?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you are. I don't know why I asked. Of course you are.
Try, anyway.
You're going to be amazing. You're an absolute inspiration.
Thank you.
You're mad, but we love it.
Thank you so
And
much.
What's next for you?
So I'm currently building a company right now which encourages people to take their health into their own hands. So I'm building the Soul Hub, which is about sharing these tools, breathwork, meditation, cold water therapy, and teaching people when we can endure pain and when we can start to really get comfortable in pain.
You are a legend. Congrats. Good luck with the birth, and thank you for coming on with us. Really appreciate it.
Chloe, wonderful to meet you. Best of luck with everything. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're back same time, same place next week.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Cloudy for some in the south, but brighter in the north before turning hot and humid Sunday and into Monday. But having a look at the bigger picture, we've got this waving feature, and that's responsible for the cloud and outbreaks of rain that we'll see in the south today. A bit of a squeeze in the isobars further towards the north. So a lot of cloud compared to yesterday, especially across parts of Wales, the Midlands and down towards the south. Perhaps thick enough for some spots of rain and drizzle. But in the north, best of the sunshine here with sunny spells. Still a few showers coming into Scotland, but these moving through quite quickly in a brisk wind. Highs here of 20 degrees, but further south 24 to 25. Now, as we go into the latter half of the day, clouds should melt away, so we'll start seeing some late evening sunshine across parts of Wales and the Midlands, but holding on to a lot of cloud further towards the south. Still sunny spells into the evening across Northern Ireland, Northern England, and holding on to a few showers across parts of Scotland still, but like I said, they're moving through quite quickly. So through Saturday evening and into the night, that cloud still persisting across the southern parts of England, so a murky night here and also quite humid and muggy as well. Elsewhere, clearer skies developing widely, showers generally fading across much of Scotland and actually feeling quite fresh underneath the clear skies, especially in the rural spots further towards the north. But underneath this cloud and murky conditions, a humid feel, temperatures 16 or 17 degrees. So as we start Sunday morning then, a lot of clouds still persisting across the south, but as we go into the afternoon, that should start breaking up to reveal sunny spells, and for the majority of the UK, plenty of warm and hot sunshine on offer, with temperatures climbing up to 29 degrees. Bye-bye.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather.